had been touched, and the owners of the house would come back at any moment and go about their usual business. The wooden furniture looked anything but comfortable, but it was beautifully carved, with embroidered cushions added for comfort. I stopped to admire the marble mantelpiece, just as a young man walked into the room. "Good morning, Barry," Max called out to the young man. "Barry is here to make a fire. We light fires in all the rooms during the winter months to avoid the visitors complaining of cold. Besides, it makes things appear more authentic, don't you think?" "I'm sure it does, and the warmth doesn't come amiss, I dare say," I replied, shivering in my coat. It was actually warmer outside than it was in the house. I stood closer to the hearth as the fire began to crackle and fill the room with the pleasant smell of burning wood. The rest of the room was still frigid, but my spot was growing warmer by the minute, and I dared not move until I got warm. Max took a seat on one of the hardback chairs, ignoring the sign that asked visitors not to touch anything or sit on the furniture, and held out his hands to the fire. "Barry will have all the fires lit soon, and the house will feel considerably warmer. Sorry, I should have taken that into account, but I wanted to show it to you before the crowds descended," he said apologetically. "Do you get visitors here all year round?" I asked, looking around the well-appointed room. "Oh, yes. I have an arrangement with several large tour companies. I give them a price break, and they include us in their tour. They won't be too pleased if I close the museum down for several months, but they will just have to wait until we reopen." "You seem sure that you will get the contract," I teased Max good-naturedly. "I know we will. I could see it in your face the moment you walked into this room. This is just what you were looking for, isn't it?" "I'd have to see the rest of the house to answer that. But yes, I think this would be suitable. This place has a certain aura. It's like stepping into a bygone era," I said. "It is. That's why I thought the museum would be such a good idea. The money doesn't hurt either. This place is a cash cow." I could see that Max was very proud of his baby, and couldn't blame him. The house really was a gem. "Come, show me the rest." "It will be my pleasure," Max replied, as he sprang to his feet and led me back out into the hall. The rest of the house didn't disappoint. The rooms were large and well-proportioned, decorated with period paintings and exquisite tapestries. The furniture glowed from frequent polishing, and the heavy drapes and bed hangings were still vibrant and not terribly faded from age and sunlight. The clothes on display were spectacular as well, ranging from the early 1500s to the end of the 18th century. I didn't want to gush too loudly and cause Max to increase the asking price, but most of the furnishings and some of the clothes could be used on set in lieu of bringing in our own. It would cut production costs considerably, which was always an added bonus. In my mind's eye, I could already see how several rooms could be transformed into the chambers of Whitehall Palace and Charles's private apartments. Of course, the facade of the palace would be computer-generated, since the original palace was destroyed in the fire of 1698. All we had was some drawings and paintings to remind us of what the palace looked like. But with today's technology, recreating the palace was a matter of a few keystrokes. Max and I left the house and stepped into the formal gardens situated behind the house. Of course, at this time of year it was nothing more than brown stumps and evergreen hedges. But come spring, the gardens would be glorious and perfect for shooting several key scenes. "So, what do you think?" Max asked, as he rubbed his hands in anticipation. I could see the suppressed excitement in his eyes, and was glad not to disappoint him. "I think it's perfect. I'd just like to take a look at the church. There's a scene that takes place in the crypt. Is there one?" "There is, as it happens," Max replied happily. "And it's perfectly sinister, as one would expect. I don't think anyone's been down there in ages. I'd love to escort you, but I have a meeting in the village. Will you be all right on your own?" "Of course." "Excellent. I'll walk as far as the church."